All right, Coach, go ahead and talk about this week's game against San Jose State at home.
Yeah, another chance to get ourselves back right. Our players, did a really good job this morning in their workouts. They're come back with a really good mindset and attitude. Just like I said Saturday night after the game, they did a good job for 2 weeks of energy, intent, preparation, all those things that way for this game. We made, mistakes in situations that what we can't. Those are correctable. We've got to get those corrected, but those cost us a game for sure. When you turn the ball over 3 times, 2 of them inside of their 25-yard line, and have 2 punts blocked for touchdowns, and there's your game. So that's where we're at, and take with questions.
Jay, I asked you on Saturday why the lack of consistency in the first half struggles. I'm wondering if anything was glaring on film on yesterday.
Yeah, I think there's a combination of things, and I think it's also something that where we've taken like deep looks at. There's a combination of things to it. Number one is that we've been inconsistent with where the ball's going at times. And I think that's something that there's some plays out there in the game where we're wanting the ball to get to certain places, and we're kind of aborting that read a little quicker. And that's a piece of it. I think we've also the other night we had a turnover in the first half deep in the inside territory where we switched the ball on the handoff. Something we don't want to do there. And and then I think I think that there's a piece of it too, offensively, where we know we want to get off to a good start and we're pressing. And I do think that that's happening for a number of our players. Like, we're not going out and playing in a rhythm. We're pressing too much, and it's almost like we've got to get them regrouped before we stop pressing. In our last 2 second halves, we've played better offensively, but our first halves have been poor. And we've got to get that fixed. And so there's a lot of, it's not just a call this play or draw this out. Sometimes it's the psychology of it and the interaction of like, okay, we got to take the sure play. We got to take the play that's the first read. We got to make sure that we get a quick adjustment on anything that maybe we're seeing differently from them that we haven't seen in games prior or what we had seen leading into the game. So I think there's a lot of variety of factors, and we got to get this fixed because we're not giving ourselves enough chance in the first half. And I think it's hurting our football team from an energy standpoint because we need to get off to a good start. I think the other night, if we get off to a really good start in that game, it's a totally different situation. And right now, that is paramount for us this week and in weeks going forward. We got to start winning first quarters, and right now we're not.
Jay, obviously Jay Johnson also works directly with the quarterbacks. What are maybe some conversations you're having with him to get more out of Caden Anderson going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk, like Caden is doing a good job, right? And there's a lot there that I think that Caden will do a much better job. Can Caden be better than what he's been in a lot of situations? Yes. Caden will be the first one to tell you that. Do we have all 100% faith in Caden? Yes. There's a few times out there, though, I think he gets into a mode at times where he's pressing, where he's, trying to get us back into a flow quickly. Maybe we've gotten down 10 points or something, and it's gotten him out of rhythm because he's pressing too much. I know the other night, it's something he's got to grow through, learn through, everything else. I know the other night he did not have total confidence in grip and rip it right away early in the game. He's got to get through that. That's part of sometimes playing in bad field condition and that type of thing. There's no excuses, anything that way, but I think that there's a lot of things that go into that room and then in playing that position well. And a part of it is that we've got to, I mean, again, it's the same thing. We got to get ourselves off to a good start. We got to hit some things quicker than what we've been doing it, because then I think our energy starts to sag a little bit, and then he's now pressing to try to get everybody going again.
Yeah.
And I think that would happen. That's what happens sometimes as a starting quarterback.
Coach, Jake Davies looked to kind of have a tough game in pass protection on Saturday. Can you continue with him? Where are you with maybe the left tackle situation?
Well, I mean, Rex was starting on the left, and that'll continue there. And Jake's starting on the right. And that, I mean, Jake's got to improve. Jake's got to get better. Jake's better than he was a year ago. And again, with one of those things in the offensive line at times, when you lose a guy, the next guy up, we got to have him ready to go. We got to do certain things to help him in situations. Our next people behind him are younger than him, and he's a redshirt sophomore. And you say, okay, well, where's the other guys? Well, they're, as documented a year ago, they're all gone, in that regard. So we've got some growing and developing to do at that position. And we have to, like I said, we have to help him. He's got to improve and do that. And we've got to continue to develop our other players so then that way we can challenge him even more and do that.
Jay, do you have an update on Durr, J-Mike, Harris, Andrew Johnson? I guess it got laundry list a little bit, but Harris injured or not, Sam Scott seems to really be providing a spark right now. Would you like to see him more involved and maybe even featured?
I mean, Sam Harris is okay. He'll be fine. Sam Scott did do a good job the other night. I think Sam has a big role in our offense regardless of whether he starts the game or doesn't or anything that way. I think we've got, a list of backs that, Teron Kelman had a really good play the other night on the screen. I think we have three pretty good backs. And, at times you could look at it and say, okay, this guy's got the hot hand and we need to keep going. Sam Scott the other night kind of got a hot hand going first a little bit, and so we needed to keep going with that. Durr, I think, will be okay, but we'll see. I saw him in the weight room a little bit ago, and he said he felt okay, but, sometimes what players tell you and what really happens when they start moving around and getting bumped a little bit different. I don't have an update on Andrew Johnson, exactly where he's at right now. Gillenborg, I don't have any percentage of availability on him right now, and we'll just kind of have to see in that situation.
What about Jake Wilson? How's he doing?
Jake Wilson will miss the rest of the season. So that's, so Jake, go back on it, right? He has cysts taken out of his knee. The knee was then infected. There was a procedure to then deal with the infection. And then there's been another procedure to deal with some scar tissue. There's no structural issue. There's no ligament, no tendon, no nothing wrong with his knee. He had a cyst in it, but there's a cyst in your knee. That has to get tested. And luckily it's benign, and that's the biggest thing to it. But the timing of everything else, we would still be a month from him maybe being able to do something, and what are we then with 3 games left or something like that? So to sit there and use a year of his eligibility, I don't even know, because when you're not doing things that way, the amount of quad loss and stuff that you have over time, I don't even know when he would be back. That's obviously, if you rewind us to early August and we're sitting there and you're thinking that we've got this maybe 3 tight end package that we can use with Gillenborg, Jake Wilson, Evan Sabota, that'd come in handy the other night on an icy field. And 2 of those guys weren't available, and so it kind of changes things a little bit. But, hey, we got other options, and we need to do better with what we've got. So,
Coach, you mentioned the running backs. You got a trio of guys right now that are averaging 5.3 yards per carry. How nice will it be to, get on schedule and actually be able to play kind of on your own terms?
Yeah, we need to do that. I don't, that's a big piece of it, is that we're not starting games the way we need to. And, And I think that's, we've got to look at, okay, and we're looking at every level of it, right? Is it a player thing? Because the players know after a couple games, and we're saying, hey, we need to start fast. So they want to start fast. And so sometimes I think you get out of character, out of rhythm, or some people press because they're wanting to start fast. And then there's also a little bit of, we got to look at what we're doing, what we're asking them to do early in games. Are we getting certain looks that maybe we didn't anticipate in certain sets? That's kind of way down the list. That gets too technical. It's a lot less than that, okay? We need to get going, though, offensively. We can't be sitting with, 3-point first halves and things of that nature, and we all know that. And, that's something that we've got to get addressed and corrected.
Jay, you talked obviously about the 2 special teams touchdowns after the game. I'm curious what conversations maybe are being had this week to make some adjustments in that area. Yeah,
well, first of all, and the thing is that I'm, go back to my whole coaching background. I spend a lot of time with us on special teams because that's, not only on defense, but I also had to do a lot of things special teams wise through time. And, we had a punt blocked at Delaware in 2004 in a playoff game, and a punt blocked by North Dakota when I was at Northern Illinois in 2010. And my whole time at Minnesota, we never had a punt blocked. We never, 7 years at Southern Illinois, had the one, have 2 the other night. And so you're looking at, and that lost us the game, right? And so in that situation there, we had operation issue. The second one was too slow based on the snap location where it got us. And then what we have to do is abort technique. If we're not on rhythm with the snap, we've got to abort and get to a one-step. We didn't do that, and that's what cost us on that. And on the first one, our location and launch point wasn't where it needed to be. So we've got a lot of things that we've got to address, and with it, we'll get those addressed. We'll get that part fixed. And look, I mean, Bart feels terrible about it too, and the whole deal. And but the second one, we were, I think, 2.16, and I timed that thing probably a dozen times. And when we're at that type of timing, you better have great location. And we brought it back to the unblocked guy, and the punter has the unblocked guy, and that's where we have an issue, though.
Coach, defensively this weekend, how much of an emphasis are you putting on limiting San Jose State's passing attack and keeping Ige out of a rhythm?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easier said than done. I mean, first of all, he's a very good quarterback. And they've also got, a couple really good receivers. Dan Scudero's, I think, leading the country in receiving right now, and that type of thing. They're in a pretty good rhythm offensively right now over the last couple games. Look, you're gonna have to play really well for one thing. There's not like some brand new amoeba coverage that you come out with, because you only got 11 guys on the field, and you still have to be able to function in the run game, because they do run the ball, effective enough and that type of thing. And so, you got to play very well. You got to be, sound in what you do. You're going to have to get pressure from, people on the line of scrimmage and those types of things there. They do a very good job. You sit there and say, well, let's just blitz them or something like that. He sees all those things very well. The spread and the location of the receivers allow them to see that. And so, and then what happens is the ball gets out of his hands very quickly. So you can rush as many people as you want, and you're probably going to have a limited effectiveness that way too. So, it's a challenge. It's a big, big challenge, and they're very, very good offensively. They have a very good system. They understand the system really well, and we're going to have to play very well.
Jay, kind of going off that, Ige has one of the best completion percentages in the country. When he's completing passes like that, how do you make sure the offense doesn't get in a rhythm for the Spartans?
Well, I mean, the first thing that you've got to do, look, there's 2 big things that you're going to have to do. And when you play a team that throws the ball very well and will throw it a number of times, right? You're always kind of looking at a target of saying, okay, we got to keep this to under 6 yards an attempt. And so if a team throws it 40 times, you can't worry about whether they threw it for 240 yards or not, right? What you can't let them do is throw it for 400 yards, right? and that's easier said than done. What the point of that is, your first focus is that you got to be able to win and defend balls that they're trying to throw over your head. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is you better do a really good job tackling in space, because then shorter balls that are caught that turn into bigger plays, like to some degree you got to live with some throw, catch, tackle at times. But it's those other two things that really create the issues, and they do a really good job with certain concepts to get people open down the field and things of that nature. So they test, so many different coverage rules of what you do, and so you're going to have to be able to function multiple ways and to do that.
Jay, obviously with J. Mike out, Justin Herb's been playing quite a bit, running game and passing game, had a touchdown the other night. What's his journey been like? I think he came here as a walk-on, and just his progression over the last couple of years.
I appreciate Justin and the fact that he works very hard. He's prepared every day. He doesn't ever complain about his role, right? And now his role has expanded, because probably, like I said, if you rewound to August when we had Jake Wilson and Sabota and Gillenborg, and we think, okay, we could put these three guys out on the field, and Jake's a really good athlete and blocker, and of course Gillenborg where he's at, and the whole deal, but he never came to my office or never said, hey, what's my role he never says that, right? He just does his job. Justin Herb just does his job every play. So now, okay, you lose a guy or two, the thing that you can count on is the fact that this guy's going to play hard. He's going to be prepared. He's going to put himself in the right spot. He can make a play when needed. But he's also going to give you a competent, experienced guy that isn't going to beat you with a mental mistake. Okay. Is he Gillenborg? Probably not in that regard, as far as the receiving threat and all the other things that J. Mike can do. But we've got to leverage what he does well, and he's also been a very good special teams player for us his whole time. And so, look, you have to have players who fit that role and do the job that he does and do it very well.
Petrino said one of the beauties of a young guy like Jones Thomas is that you tell him once and he figures it out. Really rough outing in Boulder. Think you had a real nice bounce back game against UNLV?
Yeah, that was better. It was better. There was still, one play on the first series that they scored a touchdown on. He was a curl dropper on a pass and kind of got out of the curl, and I think they got like a 20-yard gain on it. In that regard, there. So there's times that if he sees, maybe he's in a position or a picture that's newer to him, then he doesn't have that base of experience to the things that he does well. He's doing really well, and I thought he did come back well the other night. And look, like I said, this game come down to the fact that we had 2 punts blocked for touchdowns. We throw an interception at their 5-yard line. We fumble the ball at their 24-yard line. We have a very questionable offensive pass interference penalty that would cost us a touchdown. You take those things in combination, and that's how you lose a game. You're always going to lose a game when you get 2 punts blocked and you turn it over 3 times. You're going to lose 100% of the time. And those are things that we can control, and that, I feel bad for our players that we didn't control those better, players and coaches. There's no excuses. Nobody's making an excuse. Nobody's going to point a finger at anything either, other than the fact that the finger, your first point is the fact that as a head coach, we got to get these things addressed and fixed.
So I'm interested, what impresses you most about this Scudero kid? He's only 5'9", and he's just making plays everywhere.
First of all, he's got really, obviously he has great ball skill. Okay, so that's first and foremost. Second thing is he's very, very good route running, and he's very difficult in the fact that there's a lot of, he has a lot of movement at certain route break points. He'll dip a head and shoulder, and he can do some things to get a defensive back off balance. He can dip a head and shoulder out when he's breaking back in, and he's got a lot of movement, a lot of wiggle, those types of things that can create issues for defensive backs. They do a good job in their system of making sure that they can free him up to certain things, and then the quarterback does a very good job of delivering the ball to him. So there's a whole combination of things. But he's a very, very good player, very talented, runs well, has made big plays for him, all year long. And, that's a big challenge that we've got to work with this week.
We've heard Tyson Dean's name a couple times this fall. I'm just curious where he's at going into this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting better and better as it goes. He didn't play at corner the other night. Look, the two corners that did play the other night, Dancis Miller had a pretty good game, which went along with the fact that he had been practicing extremely well, and Tyrese Boss played pretty well, and Marquis Grant on the reps that he got did well. So, in the nature of the game, it wasn't something that we were, sliding him into and that type of thing there. He's been good on special teams. Look, he's going to play significant number of defensive snaps for us as the season goes on, and he's going to be a really good player for us here going forward.
Coach, Caden Anderson seemed to be a little bit emotional Saturday night. Is he a guy that kind of wears losses hard? How does he bounce back, I guess is my question.
No, well, he'll bounce back. First of all, he has a lot of confidence, to be a good player. The second thing is, though, he has a huge care factor, right? And so when you have a huge care factor and you realize that there's some plays that you could do better, right? You're gonna take it hard. That's what you want. You want a guy that you work within that. Now, I think that sometimes he has to do a better job of maybe controlling some things emotionally, maybe in the course of the game. Not that he's losing his cool or anything that way, but that he's trying to then make it right so fast and presses, and does that. And look, he's a sophomore quarterback. And as much as, I think that he's got the ability to be really, really good, there's going to be times that we have to look at it and say, he's a sophomore quarterback. And, we got to work with that. And he will get better. He will get better and better. But no, I mean, he took it hard the other night. A lot of us took it hard the other night. We all took it hard the other night because, everybody wanted to win that game badly. Everybody prepared hard to win that game. And we had a number of players play extremely well. Okay, so when you have a number of players play really well, Jack Walsh played really well again the other night, and Caden Barnett played well. And we had guys in the defensive line play very, very well the other night in that game. And a number of guys defensively played well the entire night. I thought there was younger players that did good things, Dion DeBlanc, and, you had different things that came about. Everybody wanted to win. And so when you have some form of a responsibility, whether it's a coach that's working with special teams, whether it's a quarterback, whether it's anybody else, these are like stabs to an open heart. And so you have to bounce back and you have to go to the next one, and he'll be all right.